didn't know how to make friends and not really know what I was doing and hoping that I wasn't offended. I don't feel overwhelmed anymore. Just try it. Just do it.
お名前は何ですか？
Brandi です。
ブランディさん、出身はどこですか？
アメリカのジョージア出身です。
今、どこに住んでますか？
今、山口県住んでいます。
どのぐらい山口県に住んでいますか
？3年ぐらいです。
いいですね。山口県好きですか？
ブチ好きです。はい。
ああ、そうですか。いいですね。趣味は何ですか、ブランディさん。
例えば、ダイビング、ハイキング、博物館、ガーデニング、よくなるです。
趣味たくさんありますね。
特に旅行好きです。
どこに行きました？
北は北海道、南は沖縄まで、いろんなところに行きました。
地元の人たちと話しますか？
はい、たくさん。地元の人、日本語で話して書きたいので、日本語を勉強してます。
勉強熱心ですね。
はい。
頑張ってください。
ありがとう。
Which practice or what part did you like most during the master course?
I think what I liked the most was learning how to ask a question to elicit information or to elicit personal details of someone else, to ask them where they live. Do they like where they live? How long have they lived there? Were you born there? No, you weren't born there. But where were you born? Did you like where you were born? How did you end up here? I want to know these things. So I will say overall, the best thing is like being able to ask a question and get that conversation going so that they're speaking with me. I don't always understand what I'm hearing, but I will sometimes ask them to slow down, or I'll be like, oh, and I'll say whatever they said, and then I'll be like, "Nan desu ka? What is that?" And so we try to work it out. So yeah, I think, and I've actually made several friends that way. They share their life stories, and all of a sudden we're friends.
So like before master course to after master course, if you pick up only one thing, so what was the biggest change for you last year to this year?
The ability to hear things around me and understand them. Whereas before I felt like gibberish and overwhelming. I don't feel overwhelmed anymore. I think the best thing for my family is that they have somebody who can interpret stuff.
Did your family, like your husband or children, like mention about your progress?
My husband has told some people about it. Yeah, if we go out or if he asks somebody to go to dinner with us, he's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. If you have a question, we can make it happen." So that's nice.
And then our YouTube viewer don't know you at all. Like, oh, this is a new person. So could you tell me, like, who are you? Like, where you from? Where you came to Japan?
Yes, I am from America. My dad was Air Force, so we lived all over the world. And then I joined the Marine Corps. And 20 years ago, 24 years ago, long time, 24 years ago, Japan, 2 different times, and loved Japan. And then I retired. My husband got orders for Japan, and I said, yes. And now I'm a retired Marine, and I know in Japanese you say shufu, but I am not really a housewife. I travel, so I don't stay home very much. So I call myself the traveling wife, and I just go everywhere in Japan because I love Japan and I love the people, and it's easy. It's so easy, and I can't imagine not coming here.
Amazing. So, I love this traveling wife. This name, I really love it. Like, a lot of people actually hesitate to go, travel, right? Like when the husband is doing something, okay, I need to stay, but I like this idea, traveling wife.
Yes, I have a very, very understanding husband. He knows I cannot sit at home.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. So
Mm.
like so you actually have been to Japan twice before, and then finally you again came to Japan 3 years ago,
Yeah.
right? So like
Yes.
how was the impression like so different like 24 years ago to now? Like how you felt when you came back?
No, it's very similar. There are some things I see progression in, but of course, every culture grows and changes. And of course, when you come back 20 years later, you can kind of see how that growth goes and change happens. And then there are some things that are very much the same. And
Mm.
I love both of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I kind of coming back to Iwakuni, that was where I was many years ago.
Mm.
Coming to Iwakuni, seeing how it grew and how many things have
Mm-hmm.
changed. How, I mean, of course, we have Kintai Kyo, but now we have so many other things too, where, we have the Renkon fields and they do different things with that. And we have the Mikans and we have so many wonderful things that are going on here with our local Japanese community. Um, and I think it's grown exponentially since I came here 20 years ago, and that's been really
Mm-hmm.
wonderful.
So like the majority in the United States image of Japan, like maybe anime, maybe samurai, maybe ninja, like some traditional part, or like maybe gaming. But you actually live in Japan, and I know that's the you really know real Japan. But it's can you describe like what is the things you like most?
The thing I love the most about Japan, other than its people and its culture, is the ability to travel with ease anywhere. I always look at the train schedules and where they go, and it's always easy to find somewhere. Um, so I love that traveling in Japan is made for the everyday person. That is not America. That's in America, you have to fly, or if you take a train, it's very, very, very expensive, and you have so many different stops. It's not as organized, I feel like. And of course, there's a lot of driving over there, which is good, but sometimes you just want to see the countryside. And on the train, you can talk to people. Well, I mean, I talk to people on the train.
Yeah.
So that's what I love.
So as American, so when you see the scenery, like a city and the people, how do you feel like it's totally different?
Yes, yes. There are some places that are very different from seeing things in America. And even within Japan itself, going from one area of Japan to another area of the Japan, architecture and train thoughts, the way they think can be a little bit different, and sometimes the way they speak. So it's very interesting to go from different areas in Japan and see how they're tweaked just a little bit and how things are personalized to that area. So that's really
Mm-hmm.
neat.
Mm-hmm. And then, before studying, our Japan language practice master course, like, of course, you couldn't speak many things, but it's before, like, related to language or not, like, did you have some difficulty in the beginning of life in Japan?
Me personally, not so much because I always try to communicate.
Mm,
My problem coming here was that I didn't know, like, I knew that grammatically the Japanese language is constructed differently, but I didn't
mm,
know how to make phrases. It was very, very difficult for me.
mm,
And I could put one word together and another word together, but not really know what I was doing and hoping that I wasn't offending someone as I'm asking a question. Now
mm.
I do not feel like I'm offending someone. I know how to say, this is me, I'm learning, patience, please, and then speak slowly.
So, like, before finding our Japan language factory school, so, like, have you ever tried to learn Japanese by yourself?
Yes, and I did. I tried with nonprofit entity,
Mm,
and they were good, but the structure wasn't amenable to my way of learning,
mm,
and it was not dependable. So there wasn't something for me to follow and to hang on and to build on. Whereas with Japan Language Factory, you start with the phrases and you can build from that, and kind of learn from using those phrases how to switch some things around and try to get what your point across or your question across. And I could not do that before. I could put a random word together with another random word, maybe three of them if I was really good, and one of them was always arigato or ohayo or komowa or something like that. So that did it much easier for me to actively have a conversation, participate in an active conversation.
You found us after Japan Language Factory, but how did you find us? Do you remember?
Oh yes, my friend told me about it because she was working. She had gotten here a year ago, a year and a half ago, and she's working with Japanese locals, nationals, and she was having a very difficult time working with them, and they with her. And so I don't know how she found out about you all, but she was telling me about your program, and then I looked into it.
You said it, love traveling, and then I'm kind of frustrated to not speaking anything during the traveling. So like while doing this master course, like how much you try to speak, or did you have some amazing experience like with the people?
One of my favorites was my second time to Tokyo. I went to Tokyo to see my cousin and act as her tour guide. I took her everywhere in Tokyo. And she's very, she doesn't travel well, so she needed somebody. But I took her back home, or back to her airplane. And then when I left her there, I went and caught the train back, and I stopped in the town, a couple towns away from Tokyo Center. And I don't remember the specific town name. I'll have to go back and look it up. But I was sitting outside a restaurant and enjoying the air, enjoying the beautiful street art. It was a place that had a lot of street art, and I loved that. And so I walked around and I was just enjoying myself, and I sat down at a lovely restaurant outside, and I had a glass of wine and I don't know, something to eat, and I was watching people, just watching people. And this gentleman came and sat down, and his wife and their dog, they came and sat. And I asked them a simple question. They had ordered something and I didn't know what it was, and I was curious. And this is usually how my conversations go. I get curious and can't help it. I did wait. I waited for like 20 minutes before I was like, okay, I can't. So yeah, and they don't speak very much English at all. So between their little bit of English and my smattering of Japanese, we had a 3.5 hour conversation about food, about their dog, about where they went to school, where they've been. They made recommendations for me for my traveling. You know, and we're friends online and friends on Instagram. And so, you know, we keep up. And that's just one really big example, outstanding example of how you can connect.
So like before you studied master course, like you said that you didn't want to be offensive because you don't want to speak rude Japanese. So that was the reason like you wanted to learn. A lot of people actually feeling after living so many years. So like, can you describe like how you overcome, like how you change yourself?
So I think the best way that I have found to avoid or overcome the feeling or potential to avoid offending the Japanese or a Japanese person is always in my main introduction, when I tell them who I am, where I'm from, and I tell them that I'm studying Japanese, and I'll also say if I am incorrect, please correct me, and I'm practicing. So I always tell them these things ahead of time so that they know my intention is not to be offensive. I am still learning. And the Japanese people in general, once they start having a conversation with me, there have been quite a few, I mostly speak with ladies or ladies and husbands. But there have been quite a few who've been like, oh, you might not want to say it that way. Or you could say this and this and this, and it'd be easier, or something like that. So they do help me, but that's after we've had a bit of a conversation. I think because they also don't want to be offensive and tell me I'm wrong when but I'm like, please, it's okay. I am trying to learn and you will only help me make me better. So I always give them the option to correct me because that's what I need and I need to learn. So I tell them, instead of saying correcting me necessarily, I may say, teach me. Just teach me. And if you're better, tell me. So
yeah, this is definitely I do with anyone. Like let's say I speak Greek, different language, and then but I want to speak, but I know that it's my language not perfect. And then before that, if I say this one, it's more comfortable. I don't need to pressure on myself and then to them. So yeah, that's definitely a great idea. If somebody want to learn, already people who live in Japan and they already live in Japan more than maybe 3, 4, 5, 10 years. So a lot of people have this difficulty. And these people who kind of discourage themselves or maybe half gave up to learn Japanese, do you have any message to them?
Yes, just try it. Just do it. You're not going to overcome a fear or anything else. You have to just do it. So, and quite often the Japanese people are very, very forgiving and very flexible. So I think that's not a good excuse.
Thank you, Brandi. Thank you so much. And then last things is, do you have any message to all team member of Japan Language Factory?
Oh, I do. Thank you all so much. I have big hearts for you guys. And when I'm in your areas, I will message you and say, hey, I'm here. Let's practice Japanese. No. I'll buy a drink. Drinks on me.
Are you expat? Live in Japan? You started living in Japan, you're super excited to communicate with locals. You can enjoy traveling, meeting people. And now you start using this textbook and you feel like, wow, that's so many. Elementary school textbook, another elementary school textbook, and how many hours should you study? Let's think one more time. In order to communicate like a normal guy, you can do everything in the basic everyday life. Should you finish all those textbooks? Otherwise, you won't understand what they're talking. You cannot express yourself, anything. First of all, there are always two ways to learn languages. One is documentational language. The other one is conversational language. It's like, once upon a time, grandmother and grandfather are living somewhere. Or, hey, what's up? How's it going? Which is conversational. What is the most effective way to learn how to speak Japanese? Textbooks can't talk to you, so you cannot improve your listening skill and pronunciation, how to communicate. So why Japanese children can speak Japanese so quickly? Because they are learning conversational Japanese. The good news is, in Japan Language Factory, we have a specific learning structure to improve your conversational Japanese. So you can join the conversation, you can understand what they're talking, you can respond quickly, and express what you are thinking. If you want to be able to speak Japanese as soon as possible, join our free consultation to figure out what is the fastest way to start speaking Japanese.